Well, good morning, everybody. This is your next installment of WWW Wednesday Walking with the Word. If you're thinking, wow, that church that Father's walking around in looks a little bit different. Well, it is. This is St. Patrick's Church in, I guess it would be considered northeast Dallas. And I'm down here this week. I'm actually going to be coming home tomorrow. But through Integrity Restored, I was invited to come and to do a parish mission here at the parish and talk about the evils of pornography. But just a beautiful parish mission. We've reflected upon the Gospels of the woman caught in adultery. We reflected upon the Gospel of the temptation of Jesus in the desert. And tonight we're actually going to reflect upon the Gospel of the Good Samaritan, as we see that one of the primary tools that the Lord gives us in our fight against evil is sacramental confession, and what that really looks like and how God's forgiveness can be so powerful in our lives. But let's get to business. Let's walk with the Word. Today we hear in the gospel, that familiar gospel where the mother of James and John bring them before Jesus and they say, I want you, my sons, to sit one at your right and one at your left. And Jesus says to them, can you drink the chalice that I am about to drink? And they say, we can. And he says, indeed you will drink it, but to give the seat of my right and my left, it's not mine to give. It's for those who are intended, and my Father gives that. But it's very interesting, that chalice that Jesus is going to drink. We know what happens. John, the beloved disciple, the beloved apostle, was the only one to be there at the foot of the cross. Everybody else fled. No one else was around, and Peter's was most notable, as well as the betrayal of Judas. But when we think about the cup that we are given, how often do we try to push aside the cup of suffering? Because the cup of suffering leads to the cup of salvation. And we don't always think that. We see only suffering in the short term. I have this inconvenience. I have this burden. But how can it play out? How can it play out in a good way for us? How can it play out in a good way for others? That is the true opportunity that we have, especially during this Lenten season, to reflect upon the power of that suffering. Jesus always reminds us that suffering is redemptive. His suffering brought about the redemption of the world. But our sufferings too have value, and they bring about redemption in the world around us as well. We can find transformation in our own lives, transformation in the lives of others, especially by the witness that we have of taking on the cup of suffering. So we want to be Christ. We want to be like Christ. That's why we call ourselves Christians. That's why we call ourselves Catholics. But we have to embrace every facet of that. And a part of that Christian life is suffering. A part of discipleship is suffering. And so, embrace suffering, embrace that chalice of suffering, drink it, but also know that it leads to the chalice of salvation, and that God is there to be able to help us through his Son, Jesus Christ, who drank the chalice first. And as he drank it, he also gives us the strength that we need, the courage that we need, and the help that we need to drink that chalice with full faith, knowing that he is with us and that he loves us. This has been another episode of WWW Wednesday Walking with the Word, on location from Dallas, Texas. May God bless you, and we'll see you next week.